So we now move on an engaging and insightful panel discussion. Accessible platform service journey. To moderate this session, I would like to warmly welcome Mr. Ashutosh Singhal, Youth Ambassador ASG. Joining him as esteemed panelist, we have Mr. Sridhar, Mr. Sunil Chaudhary, Ms. Monisha Gandhi, Ms. Uma Bharve, Dr. Akshdeep Bansal, Ms. Vidhi Sharma, Dr. Dhananjay Bhole. We are honored to have such accomplished panel with us today, and we look forward to an enriching discussion filled with diverse perspectives and meaningful insights on accessibility and inclusive platforms. I now invite the moderator and all panelists to kindly take the session forward.
My first question to MS Uma, how your software is helping to students with disabilities?
Hi, Ashutosh. Thank you, first of all, for inviting me to be a part of this panel. And I really appreciate the enthusiasm even you have towards accessibility in India overall. Uh, First, I would like to talk about the issue of scribes, like the concern that we are talking about in India, which is of scribes. After speaking to the European Blind Union, to speaking with some organizations that work for the visually impaired in America and Australia, and with, of course, 30 years of experience that I have had in India working with visually impaired individuals, we have realized that, the scribe issue is a bit of a mixed bag. So if students are taught touch typing at an early age or are given entry into digital literacy at an early age, then they are giving their exams by typing independently. But if students are not giving their exams independently, it means that they've not been taught touch typing at an early age. In India, we have a pretty unique problem, which I'm sure you're also aware of, and that is that we have so many regional languages, and almost all blind schools in India are teaching in vernacular medium or in regional languages in their specific areas. So what happens is that students are left without learning how to type because they are not able to learn typing in regional languages, and which is why 99% of Indian students are giving their exams using scribes, which is exactly why we built Swalekhan Typing Tutor. Swalekhan literally means writing on your own. Swalekhan Typing Tutor is basically India's only accessible multilingual typing tutor, built initially for regional languages but now being expanded to multiple languages. Currently, it's available in Hindi, in Marathi, and in a very fun bilingual manner where we have English and Marathi instructions, but we teach them English typing, and Hindi instructions with English typing. Our aim is to make this software available across the country in as many regional languages as possible. Till date, we've taught 4,500 students how to type in regional languages across the country. This year, we will be launching Swalekhan Typing Tutor in Kannada, in Gujarati, and also in German, in lieu of making Swalekhan Typing Tutor available across the globe. We are very happy to partner with multiple organizations across the world to make Swalekhan Typing Tutor available in their languages, in their regional languages. This tool is completely free of cost because we at Nivand believe that we do not want to keep finance as a barrier in education for the visually impaired students. When these 4,500 students learned how to type, they came back to us and told us about another unique problem that they are facing, which is that the exam papers are coming printed for most of these students. So the question is, if you are able to type your answers, but you still need a reader to read out the questions from the question paper, they didn't want that. So we built Swalekhan Test, which is an exam platform, an accessible exam platform in which institutes, blind schools can upload question papers. Students can listen to these questions and type out their answers in an accessible manner in any language that they want. We also have a voice typing feature enabled in this exam platform. I'm very proud of the fact that this year, for the first time in the history of India, 255 students have given their exams without scribes using Swalekhan test. And it's a very, very great achievement for us, especially because we made this platform specifically for our Indian visually impaired students. I also believe that typing is a life skill. Even if we say that voice typing is something that may become much bigger in the future, I feel like Swalekhan typing tutor is giving students a life skill of typing. And let me just end this with a small story of a student called Shubham Wagmare, who actually learned how to type in Marathi using Swalekhan typing tutor. And he has written an entire novel. He's typed out an entire novel and published it. The story is about a blind protagonist who falls in love with a sighted girl. And it's from the point of view of a visually impaired student or person, who is, of course, Shubham Wagmare. And this only shows that typing is not necessarily only for exams, but it is to be able to write your thoughts, cross your points, so that the whole world can know what you're thinking. And that's what Swalekhan typing tutor has achieved to do, and we call it a revolution. Thanks, Ashutosh.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Sida, what makes your app truly accessible for people with disabilities?
Yeah, hi. Thanks for inviting me to this meeting. So first of all, I represent edqueries.com. I'm the founder. So this is focused more on the neurodivergent individuals. So what happens is there are invisible disabilities, what some would call. You can't make out when you look at the person, but the person may have autism, could have ADHD, dyslexia, Down syndrome, or intellectual disability. So this is a space which has not been looked into much. So there has been a challenge, and how do you teach those students, or the students want to learn something? So I have worked in the technology industry. Before that, I was working as a pediatrician. I moved into software technology around 20 years ago for healthcare related software. So around 8 years ago, I started this company called edqueries.com. EDQUERIES. Queries means questions, ed means education. So the idea was, how do we make learning fun, first of all? Because the student, whether a child or an adult, wants to enjoy education. If it is enjoyable, the student may even overcome the challenge. The challenge in this case was that they're finding it difficult to understand, difficult to perceive certain things. So we decided that maybe we should use the approach of gaming, means take that part of the gaming which brings fun, but remove that part which causes distractions. So simple gamified education, and then make a vast library and put it online so that it is available to everybody. The biggest challenge is these special educators who teach such children are there, but are mostly in the cities. And unfortunately, even in the cities, travel has become very difficult. So how does a parent or how does a student get useful educational material? So we started with that approach, then we kept on showing it to those students, those parents, and kept on improving. So over the last 8 years, we have got about 7,000 odd different educational content, mostly interactive content where the student has to go online and actually drag and drop or select and do things. So when you're doing things, then only you will know that the student is understanding or not. Because here the major challenge is at the level of the mind. So unless we know whether the student is actually doing things, we don't know whether they get it. Now education, again, we are focused on functional education. Means the real purpose is to make that student ready for life. Can they go to a shop? Can they buy things, get things, ask for things? So our students are in the range from almost from 4-5 years to 35 years age. So we are also giving them pre-vocational and vocational content. And all this is online. So it's not an app that you download on a phone. It is more on a website. You go to Google Chrome or any other browser, you log in, create your account, and then there is free as well as paid content. So we call ourselves the Netflix of the e-learning space, because we are like an online library where already a lot of content is there, and then we are continuously getting more content. So every day based on request from somebody or from the teachers or the users. You're going on making content. So the child or the adult is playing the games, and parallelly we are also tracking their usage so that you can personalize learning, because everybody has their strengths and weaknesses. So how do we figure out where are they struggling? Instead of saying that the student is 5th grade passed or is past 10th grade, we are saying what does the student actually know and where is he actually struggling, so that the teacher can then plan something useful. So that has been the approach, and we are present right from we have users from organizations who are there in Uttarakhand to Kerala, even now Sri Lanka, and parents who join us abroad also, US and UK, and we are there in Nagaland to Gujarat. So across our country, major organizations, and we have a MOU signed with NIPMENT of Chennai, National Institute for Empowerment of Persons with Multiple Disabilities. And recently, a MEd student of NIPID, National Institute for Persons with Intellectual Disabilities, she did a thesis on our product about adults and their usage in reading for this app. So that is an overview of our solution.
Mr. Sunil, what specific problem your 10 app solve for people with disabilities and senior citizens?
Thank you, Ashutosh, for inviting me here, and thanks and hello everyone. So, our app name is TEN, which is short for the Accessible Nation. In TEN, what we are building is more of an interface that changes as per the user needs. So, every person with disability uses her or his or her own assisted technology to access digital world. And this is something that keeps changing. And now this itself becomes a digital skill, or a skill that you need to learn over the time. And what our app does is that we make that experience between digital world and the user, whatever their current knowledge is of the digital literacy. So it's very easy. So basically, because this is particularly customizes itself as per the user needs. So for example, I'll give you an example. So let's say if you are a person with low vision, and you are someone that who does not want to, or who cannot see light mode, because this is something that is very painful for your eyes. Now what we do is that we make sure that whatever content you see on our platform is something that is as per your preference, which is, for example, dark mode in this case. And even let's say there are some images that are out there. For example, our app is more around shopping and independent living in day-to-day life. So if let's say you want to buy something online by seeing an image or other things, as a low vision user who cannot see light mode, so then you can easily switch to dark mode and see whatever is there. And then, for example, if you are a hearing impaired person, and then you're not good with, let's say, English or Hindi or any other language, but again, sign language is something which is primary to your day-to-day interaction. So our UI itself has different sections where you see ISL language videos, so that even if you don't know, let's say, English and Hindi, so you can easily browse the catalog, order things online. So currently, for example, you can order things like food, grocery, or book flight tickets, cabs, and things like metro tickets, and etc. And the one other thing that I would like to mention is that because of this personalization that we have done for the user, 30% of our orders that come to on our app are something that have been done first time by these users. And these are users ranging from as young as 15 years to as old as 55 to 60 years. And this is something that they have found as an independent living tool in their life, despite of whatever challenges they might have on other platforms while accessing any content or catalog. So that's how we are solving a problem of independent living, as well as making sure that technology itself does not become a barrier for someone who has some assisted technology needs.
Great. Mr. Akashdeep, is a digital accessibility a opportunity for business?
Yeah, thanks, Atosh, for having me here and the entire organizing team. Myself, Akashdeep Bansal, I'm the founder and CEO of Seralex. So Like the short answer to your question is yes, there is definitely a business opportunity for businesses. Because see, nowadays all of us know that around 16% of the global population is a persons with disabilities. Now, when these platforms are not accessible, and most of the businesses are now digital hospitals, right? So now, if the most of the platforms are not accessible, these consumers, which are the 16% of the global population, they cannot give business to these companies. So now the platforms, they are not making their platform accessible. They're losing out this business. And it's not like like some of the people have this perception that the person with disability does not have the disposable income. So I would like to refer them to a report by WIPO, which says that the persons with disability, along with their family and friends, holds $8 to $13 trillion of disposable. So definitely, if the platforms are not accessible, they're definitely losing out to business.
Okay.
Yep.
MS Uma, how is your software solving the accessibility issue of examination? Means I want to know more about your software test.
Yes. So, Ashutosh, Swalekan test, basically you can upload an institute or a blind school or a teaching institution across the world can actually register themselves on Swalekan test. Once they do that, they get complete access to our admin panel where they're able to upload question papers. Currently, they are able to upload question papers via Excel, but now we are building a whole AI feature where they will be able to OCR question papers that have been printed or use any AI platform to create question types and question banks. Swalekan test has 3 kind of questions that students can solve. One is match the following, one is MCQ, multiple choice, and the other is long answers. So it can be any long or short answers depending on what the students wants to give the answers of. At the end of the exam, when the students have given their entire exam, then the teachers can either evaluate, analyze online, or they can download a PDF and print it as an answer sheet. The institutes are able to configure many things in this question paper. And one of the most amazing things is that they can schedule exams. So they can decide what time the exam needs to start and what time will it end, and even dates. So you can decide what date the exam will start and what date the exam will end. We are currently also building a lot of question banks for different classes from 5th standard to 12th standard for curricular material, where students will be able to maybe do a specific lesson or a specific like some homework that they have to do, and they will be able to solve these small quizzes that we are building in the question bank. So not only will that help them learn how to type and increase their speed and accuracy, but they'll also be able to cope up with their curricular work, and the teachers will be able to analyze how their responses are, furthering this cause of education. I hope that answers your question, Ashutosh.
Yes. Mr. Akashdeep, how can we make sure the digital accessibility can become business opportunity?
Okay, how we can make sure that it has become a business opportunity? Interesting question.
Yes.
See, for that, first of all, we need to solve the data gap. The biggest problem in the entire space is we don't have the data. We know today that 16% of the global population is a person with disability. But when it comes to the point that how many of them are actually facing the problem when the digital platform is not accessible, no one has answered. Even like there is no, I can't find any numbers which has been published by like the platforms like Google or maybe Apple or Microsoft. Like even though they can maybe like even the Google can implement something in the Google Analytics where they can show that these many number of person with disabilities are using your platform, trying to use your website, but those kind of things are not yet been implemented. So for a business, even though if you go and say that 62% of the global population is a person with disability, but when they ask the question that how many of them actually face the problem when the digital platform is not accessible, or even see, like if I tell you like what happens is I was speaking to one of the business some time back, and the business guy there asked me two questions. Can you help me understand how many new users I can expect if I make my app accessible? Or second question was, can I expect that the frequency of users will increase by the existing user? Like, can you give me some numbers, like how much I can expect on? So I was not having any answer to both of these questions. Unless and until we have answer to these questions, for a business to understand that whether this this is a really a business case or not, it is not really something which they can conclude, because there are no proper case study which has been published, which can really give them an idea. Okay, these many like if they make the platform accessible, this is how like the number of users are going to increase. And that's how they don't today when they try to make the digital platform accessible, and when they try to think of in terms of the ROI, the return on investment, if they are spending X amount of money today to make the app accessible, they don't know what fraction of the X they are going to get in return. It is going to be multiple of X, or it is going to be some fraction of X, or it is going to be in the. They don't know anything right now, and unless and until this data gap is solved, I don't think it is going to be a true business case. Let's hope that answers.
Yes. Mr. Siddha, how does your app change a gaming experience to everyone?
As I said, first of all, this is a huge online library, and as in any library, not everything will work for everybody. So we are dealing with what is called an autism spectrum disorder. Okay. And similarly, there are other conditions where are also wide variations. So first things first, not everything in our platform works with everybody. But what we try to do is at least make something useful for everyone. When you go to a library, do you like every book? No. But you always find something useful. So what we have decided is there is no book or solution on the planet which will work for everybody and teach them everything. So we are saying let us reach out to our users and ask them what are the problems they are facing or what we can do and what they want to learn, and accordingly make it. So we keep going back to our user community, whoever wants to use it, and then keep trying to give them something which they like. So in a situation like autism, there could be a child who only likes cars and wants to play only with car toys. Now the parent wants to teach that boy or girl mathematics. So let us say I want to teach addition. So I will say, why not use that what they like cars, and use cars to teach them mathematics. So we could have an addition game which is based on cars. Now hopefully some other child somewhere in the country or in the world would also like cars. So like that we are going back to our community, asking them what they want, whether it is teaching vocational or teaching something. So we start with the assumption that there is something out there which we have, but there could still be something we don't have. Let us ask and build. So that way we are going on making that set of things which is useful more and more useful. So that's the only way out. And luckily, thanks to AI, we can build things faster. It is easier to change our software than to change a child. And our main objective is to make learning fun, not just make something available. Right? So we are not saying that we have got one solution which works for all. We are saying we are going to make a solution every day for that person who is going to request us. So that's how we are addressing this.
Okay. Mr. Sunil, why is the inaccessible platforms are a huge challenge across the world, like shopping and traveling?
So what we are so this is a problem across globe, and it's more prevalent in some part of the world than, let's say, others. You always have variations. And this is happening because, somewhere there is a, lack of knowledge in terms of what an accessible thing means for a particular user. And this accessible itself is, complex thing. So it's not that what is accessible for me could be same for another person who had, let's say, blindness or low vision. So each one of us has different needs, and that's what kind of causing this complexity or the problem. In terms of how to make things accessible. Now, what we are doing at 10 for this particular thing is, we are, so all of us agree that universal design is something that we should all build on. This is something that is required for making your things accessible. What we are doing, and going one step ahead and saying that we are going to design inclusive design solution, so that your platform is customized to you. And this is something which has become more easier now, as Mr. Sridhar was saying that now given AI and everything, it has become easier to change the software. So that's what we are also focusing on, building a platform that is customizing itself, and then platform itself is connecting to different marketplaces out there. It could be Amazon, it could be ONDC in India, it could be travel platform like Ease My Trip and others. So we are connecting with all of these platforms through API integration, and make sure that whatever UI at least we are showing to our user is accessible. So that's what how we are solving. And in general, we think that if whatever we are building is something that is also a global solution. So if we integrate with different marketplaces, the users would have at least one platform there where the developers know what it means to make anything accessible. And this basically gives you a consistent experiences across time, across releases, and that's what we are focused on. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. And now we are ready for Q&A. Please ask any question whichever you want to ask. I hope our audience is very active and they will ask so many questions from my panelist.
Only one question from my side. I am Abdul Mohit here.
Could you please speak a little bit louder?
Yeah, this is Abdul Mohit. Are you able to hear me now?
You are audible, but if you will speak more louder, so it will be better, because I have to focus more on your voice.
Okay. Now I am audible.
Yeah, now it is better.
Okay. So this accessibility business model for established disability, that can have, but in this business model, how it is integrating the disability which goes unnoticed for longer period and get deteriorated, for that matter. So the business model is able to integrate with the healthcare system in India, so that it can be early detected and support can be provided for accessibility requirement of the person who has got beginning of the disability criteria. Basically, conclusion of the question is that business model is inclusive to the healthcare system, as well as getting the input from the healthcare area for integrating into the business model.
Yes. Does anyone wants to comment? This is for every panelist.
I can take. Okay, so you're right. Like there are a lot of disabilities which get increased with time, and the requirement may change with the time. And the system, if we can integrate with the healthcare, that can also help. But ideally, what we require right now is, see, when your disability is increasing, ultimately you are either switching to some other assisted technology or some other accommodation which you require. Right now, when we are talking about the business case, what we are talking about is, do we know how many person with disability use TalkBack today when they access any of the Android mobile applications? Doesn't matter which disability it is. Now, even if you were not using earlier, but now you have the disability to which you have to use the TalkBack today, and as soon as you start using the TalkBack, can the system interpret that and feed the data into some analytic system which can show to the businesses that now there are these many number of users who are trying to boost the application with the help of it all. So ultimately what matters is how many persons with different disabilities require what kind of different accommodations. That is ultimately going to drive the businesses. Who that is.
Yes, thank you so much, everyone. And I hope you will send your questions in the chat box, and our panelist will give answer in the chat box. Thank you so much. Please, you can go to the next speaker.